Londres.
I intend to make myself a cup of tea. It's not going to be easy. There'll be tough negotiations, but it's not mission impossible. And if the other member states don't like it, well, I rule nothing out. There is an element of farce, of pretense with this entire renegotiation process. The British government is pretending to ask for things. The other member countries are pretending to have to concede them. We have something of a haka of simulated anger over negotiation points that really everybody knows amount to nothing. When you hear the leader of a national government saying, as a negotiating aim, that he wants more competitiveness in the EU, something that every single leader, every single Eurocrat would have agreed with for the last 30 years, you know that nothing is being sought. When you hear opting out of ever closer union, just the words being elevated as a goal of policy, not the effect, not actually opting out of the jurisdiction of the court, something that the Prime Minister was favouring as recently as a couple of years ago, you know that nothing serious is being asked for. And when you hear that instead of building up the independence of our Parliament, we're actually subordinating our Parliament further by for the first time recognising it as a unit within a wider European polity. That instead of saying that Parliament gets to decide when and whether to legislate EU laws, that instead of that we will have a red card system where a quantity of national parliaments can act together, much as the individual state legislatures of the US can amend their constitution, then you see that it's actually worse than the status quo in that regard, because instead of being treated as a sovereign entity in free association with its neighbours, Parliament is treated as a kind of provincial subunit. And then the absolute clincher, which is we will formalise the non-euro status of Britain. We will recognise that there's more than one currency in the EU. Oh, great. Why do we recognise that there's more than one language in the EU? How does stating the obvious amount to a negotiating aim? It's such a wasted opportunity. The potential was there to have got a completely different deal with the EU, one based on trade and economic cooperation rather than political amalgamation. We could have opted out of the non-economic aspects of membership: foreign affairs, employment law, agriculture, fisheries, defence, criminal justice, immigration, social policy. We could have had a free trade plus deal with the other member states. It was there for the asking. But for whatever reason, we've chosen to stick with the status quo and ask people to vote on the basis of what the EU has been turning into these past 40 years of our membership. Has the opportunity gone forever? Is there any way that we could still get back to that middle way, that free trade yes, political union no option? Well, yes, of course there is. It's now clear that the only way to get it is by voting to leave. That's when associate status will be put on the table. That's when, in the manner of all the other non-EU countries in Europe, Norway, Switzerland, whatever, we start negotiating the terms and conditions that will give us market access without the associated political costs. The prize is there for the asking. We can become a global country, trading with our friends and allies on the continent, but governing ourselves, but only when we vote to leave.